Okay, so I want to go back a little bit in time if we can. Growing up in such a musical family, I'm wondering how that helped shape your career, your early experiences as a musician.
Oh, it's everything. I think if my dad, the legendary Pete Escovedo, if he was a carpenter, maybe I'd be a carpenter, but he was a musician. He is. And my mom actually played piano, sang a little bit, and played some percussion. So there was music around the house constantly, and there were jam sessions and people coming over, and his band would rehearse in the living room. So being around music every single day, it was something that, was natural for us. And also because of my family being so large, both sides of my family, we were the entertainers when my brothers and I were younger. And so when there were big parties, and I mean large parties and gatherings, we would pretend like we were the Jackson Five or the Temptations or Diana Ross or James Brown, and we'd play records and sing and dance. I mean, it wasn't even about percussion, but it was always entertaining.
One of the things I believe you wrote in your memoir, when it came to musical instruments being around the household, you said that they were for everybody. Nobody cared as long as you could keep time or at least have a good time.
Exactly. And that was it. It's like my mom and dad would keep the front door open, never locked it, and people would come in and hang out, jam sessions, and then a lot of music being played, whether we played or not, or my dad played. Music in the house playing vinyl constantly, and there were parties and just hanging out and talking about music and having a great time. And we'd wake up sometimes the next morning. There are people laying on the couch and the floor we didn't know, but they were still there.
Uh, How do you honor that legacy through your career today? Or is your career today an honor to that legacy?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a great way to put it. I mean, growing up, the legacy is with the Escovedo family is the music and the way we grew up in the Bay Area and how I watched my dad, really be a leader in that leadership role in entertainment. And we've just learned so much throughout the years and a lot of his friends who are well-known musicians and artists and entertainers coming to the house and us learning through that. And that is part of our legacy and continuing to mentor young people and to spend the time with them. And times are definitely different musically for the industry, but really just teaching them what we went through is completely different what they're going through now, but at least the experience of longevity and what that really means in your career and finding out.
Oh,
Uh-oh, you froze.
you froze on me too. You're
Oh,
back. You're
you're
back. I'm
back.
sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know what the last thing you heard.
You said you find I heard finding out, and then you went out.
Yeah, so and it's the part of finding out who you are as an artist. I mean, we're continuing to grow still. I'm still learning about who I am as an artist and even with this new salsa record, you just keep expanding and growing, and that's a good thing.
That's really incredible that that discovery process continues all throughout life. I would imagine when you're mentoring younger musicians who may be afraid to go from the first album to the second album, that is very reassuring.
Yes. And that's the thing. I know some people artists, musicians, they get stuck in a place of being afraid to move on, and you can't move forward if you're not allowed for change and for growth. And so then you end up staying in a place of where you've been and you can't move forward, well, because you're not allowing yourself for change and so that you grow. I'm constantly growing. I love change. I love that part of life and being able to change and do different things and experience and learn more. And if I continue to be a student of life, I will continue to keep growing. And that's the exciting part. But people sometimes are afraid of change.
Ain't that the truth? Um, I want to talk a little bit about your career. I mean, Lionel Richie, Marvin Gaye, Ringo Starr. There's just name after name after name after name. One of the names, though, that stands out among the rest is certainly the late great Prince. Can you take us back in time a little bit and just describe your career, your work life with him?
Yeah, growing up in the Bay Area, he came to the Bay Area, Oakland, San Francisco, to do his first record. And at the time, my dad was in Carlos Santana's band in Santana. So uh, Prince went to the actual studio where they were recording, and that was his point, was to go to the studio where Sly Stone had recorded his record as well as Carlos Santana. He was big fans of theirs and the Bay Area music. So that's how my dad was the first one to see him in the studio. And like this, there's this young kid in the studio, you know, playing all of the instruments, and he's also producing as well. And I asked my dad what his name was. He said his name was Prince. I said, "Oh, I can't wait to meet him." Met him during those times, and then once we met, it was a really awesome relationship musically because Prince had not a lot of people knew about Latin jazz, and that's what my dad is, a Latin jazz artist. So once I introduced him to my family and the music that we play, to bring him in and watch us perform with my dad and my two brothers and a 12-piece Latin jazz band, he was just like, "Oh my God, this is insane." He had never seen or experienced anything like that before. So bringing that different music and the Bay Area and showing him around and the connection, that was really, I think, something that he really cherished.
You have so many iconic hits. I was watching some of the old music videos on YouTube today, and they really bring you back to a certain time in a certain place. One of them, though, that stands out is The Glamorous Life. I'm wondering if you can describe the inspiration behind that song.
The inspiration was originally, it was a instrumental, but it was something that, or a song that I really felt would acknowledge who I was as a musician. So the point was is to play percussion, play the timbales, do a solo, and really feature me as a musician, as a timbale player, which at the time no one had heard of a woman playing timbales, let alone what were timbales. And that was part of the struggle with Warner Brothers because they wanted me to release a different single for my first record once that record was turned in. And my point was to make sure that I was featured in a song, Glamorous Life, to show that not that I was a great singer, but really to play percussion and lead my own band as a woman. And I really had to show them that. And I had to actually do a showcase for Warner Brothers so that they could understand what that song really meant for me and that they were wrong in wanting to push another single, that it should be Glamorous Life. Once they saw me play that song, they said, "Ah, we get it. Let's put that out as the first single."
I'm glad you brought up the battle of the sexes because it kind of brings me to another question that I have deeper down here, but I want to go into it. Is that one of the greatest challenges? Because percussion was largely dominated and still, I suppose, even to this day, by men in the music industry. Did you face any pushback from that?
Yeah, I always did. It's interesting because again, me growing up in an environment with my family, my dad, none of my family ever said, "Oh, because you're a woman or a young girl, you're not allowed to play percussion." That was never said in our household until I left home and started working with other artists and flying to Los Angeles and meeting other musicians. And I would be the only woman walking into a room, especially a rhythm section. And, a couple of times I would walk in and the drummer would say, "Oh, excuse me, can you get me a cup of coffee?" Thinking that I was part of the studio. And I said, "I'm not, I don't work for the studio. I don't mind getting you a cup of coffee, but I'm actually the percussion player and that's my gear. And I was just coming to check it out." And they're like, "Wait, what?" No, there were so many things being said and done for a very, very, like years and years and years and years and years. Um, but it's really cool because now there are so many amazing percussion player and drummers that just happen to be women and young girls, and they're incredible. Like I wish I could play the way that they do now, and being able to actually mentor a lot of them has been very special.
Well, and I imagine now you walk in and you kind of own the place. Who doesn't know who you are when you walk into a recording studio would be the real question, right?
You look, this next generation, a lot of people, a lot of them have no idea who I am, and that's what's cool about it. And now, and then after they meet me, and all the ones that I am mentoring, I'm Auntie Sheila now to everyone. So that's the good part about it.
That's really incredible. Um, the genres. Over the course of your career, you have spanned several genres, and I suppose this kind of goes back to the angle of growth in your career and discovery in your career. How do you continue to make it fresh? I understand the want to, try something new, but how do you make sure that you land with something new and that it lands with your audience?
Yeah, I mean, this new record, my first ever salsa record, this is a great example. And that is, why at 66 years young did I decide to do a salsa record? Well, this is talked about 5 years ago. I said, I'm going to do it before it's too late. And it was something that I kind of wanted to do, and it was on my bucket list. However, it's playing salsa music, like literally recording this music, this type of music is not Latin jazz. It's completely different. It's completely different than anything I've ever done in my life. I grew up listening to salsa music. So to make it fresh and to make it real, I understand it from my heart. Um, and I grew up playing music from my heart. I don't read music. I can barely sight read ever so slightly. When I write music, it's the melodies. I can think of melodies. I can write lyrics, come up, of course, with drum beats. It's always different. Um, but salsa music, you have to actually know the specific parts that need to be played, whether the conga part, the bongos, the timbales, the clave. It has to deal with the clave. And technically, if you don't do it correctly and it's wrong, you're in deep trouble. That I wouldn't even attempt it if I wasn't going to do it the right way. So it's not that I'm making it fresh. It's just like as an artist and a musician, the traditional salsa music is going to be what it is. However, me as an artist, I feel very international. I feel I feel like I belong to everyone, and that I'm bringing that Bay Area, a little bit of R&B, funk, Latin jazz to the salsa. And not only is it all in Spanish, then there's a small portion of it that is in English as well, with Spanish
Damn it. I'm probably
Spanish to
froze
do
my.
this record.
I'm sorry, you froze there on me for a second. That's okay. I want to go kind of back to your answer there because I had a whoa moment when you said you play the music from your heart. You don't read sheet music, you play it from your heart. You feel it. And I'm thinking to myself, that is true love. Is music the true love of your life?
Number one. Number two, God is my true love. Number two is music with family. They're hand in hand, because the relationship with my family, again, they're my family, is also the connection through music that we've been able just to be so close and to be able to share that gift of music with people all over the world.
That's incredible. Talk to me a little bit about the mentorship that you do with young musicians. Auntie Sheila, I would listen, I want to study under you just so I can call you that or have the privilege of calling you that. What are those relationships like?
Oh, they're wonderful. I just saw a young lady again today, earlier this morning, and let her know that I'm really proud of her, and she's continuing to move forward and growing. And she's a young percussion player, and plays timbales, but she's fronting her band. She's singing in Spanish. She's doing it all at the same time. And her look and how she looks and presents herself. I responded to her this morning to let her know I'm proud of her, and she's continuing to grow. We've had conversations. So a lot of the young people I do through social media from all over, where young girls from India, from Japan, from the UK. I mean, all over the world, I mentor young women and what they're doing from Europe as well. I mean, everywhere, and it's just been overwhelming. Some of the girls from Cuba, they're just all over the place, and if either people send me, their information if they see, oh, have you seen this young lady yet? But part of the mentorship really is encouraging them to continue to move forward and don't be afraid of change and grow. And it's okay, but don't ever stop. Like, you're not going to always write, if you're a writer, a hit. Every song is not going to be a hit, but just keep writing. It's like it's building muscle, it's building memory, it's building feeling, it's everything that you go through. Like in 6 months from now, you're not going to be the same person. You're going to write differently. Just keep moving forward, keep learning, practicing, go jam with other people, listen to other music and expand your musicality through different ethnic or not ethnicities, but genres of music.
I hope you know, um, the profound impact it sounds like you have on these young women. Even if they set down an instrument and never come back to it, they realize this is not their calling, this is not where they're going in life. To know that they have had the opportunity to meet with you and receive some guidance and light, that energy that you have, I have to imagine many of them carry that on for the rest of their life, for decades, and have come back to you and said, hey, if not for you speaking to me, my life would be vastly different than it is today.
Absolutely, and that has been said, and it's very humbling. I'm very grateful and for the opportunity as well. I mean, I had my parents to guide me through the process, and they've been advocating for me ever since, and being the rock, for me. And not all people have that, especially these days. And so I feel that it is my responsibility as an artist and what I went through growing up to share and expose them to some things, and letting them know, ask me any questions. If I can be of service, absolutely, I'm here for you.
That's incredible. Okay, before we get on to the Jazz Festival, I do want to just touch on your philanthropy. You are involved in various charitable endeavors, and I think that's incredible, and I do think that deserves to be highlighted. Is there anything you're working on right now that you want people to know about? You want people to go to a website and click on and learn more about so they can get involved as well?
Yeah, our organization that we have now, nonprofit, is elevateoakland.org, and that's based in the Bay Area. We went back to the Bay Area. We had a couple of different name changes for our nonprofit as it continued to grow, but then we saw the need, and I always wanted to go back to the Bay Area and service our kids. The need for being involved with the arts in the Bay Area is massive. And it's not an after school program, but what we're doing is we're assisting the schools, junior high schools and high schools, um, assisting them with local artists that are not busy for a couple of months, or sometimes a couple of weeks throughout a month, but a semester. And we give them a salary so that they can help teach the history of whatever the students might want to learn. So it's during school hours. We give them instruments as well. We provide instruments. We try to take them to different facilities. We help them and mentor them to perform. We have them performing all the time in front of a live audience, and making sure that they experience that being on stage. And some of us, if we're there, we're able to partner them with A-class or A-list, famous musicians and artists as well. But they can go to elevateoakland.org, and we're always needing assistance and financial support as well. But we're in a couple of schools here and there. I mean, more than a couple, but the waiting list is long and it's challenging to not be able to service all of them because of financially being stable enough to do so. But we're hoping and praying one student at a time, one class, one school, and we continue to move forward.
Wow, what an education I bet those kids are getting. So thank you for that. That's truly remarkable. Okay, Rochester Jazz Festival, Rochester International Jazz Festival 2024. What can you tell us about your performance? What can audiences expect?
It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. And genres, different genres of music I'll be performing. Of course, I'll do some of the hits. It'll be my jazz band, somewhat jazz funk band, Sheila E and the E Train. It'll be a lot of fun. And I'll mostly play drums on this. And that's why I created this band in the 90s because I think people forget that I actually also play drums. And I don't get a chance to do that often enough. And so I will be playing drums a lot.
Is that what you find yourself going back to? Do you go back to the percussion of it all?
I go back to all of it. I just set up my drums again yesterday just so I can start playing. It's like I don't get to play enough. And that's the other part, you know, in balancing your career and if you're not having meetings and Zoom calls and interviews, you're not moving. And so that takes, you know, the important part to be able to then go and play and share the music. So you've got to find that balance.
I'm taking that as I get off the phone with me, kid. I need to get back to rehearsal. I get
I've
it.
got
I
more
get it.
interviews. I got more
I get it.
interviews.
I just have just a few rapid fire questions. You can make one word answers if you want, and then I promise I'll let you go. What is your favorite song to Sheila E? What is your favorite song to perform live?
Ooh, wow. It would be Alma de Carnaval, which is a song my dad on his record, his trombone player wrote. Alma de Carnaval, one of my favorite songs to play. And not a lot of people know that.
Dinner guest. If you could have dinner with anyone in any time period, who would you choose?
Sammy Davis Jr.
Love it. What's the most memorable concert you ever attended as an audience member?
My dad's concert.
I love it. I love it. If you could instantly master any instrument that you don't already play, because we know that list is very long, what would it be?
Master guitar.
Do you have a guilty pleasure song?
TLC Scrubs.
Good one. Good one. Alternate career. If you weren't a musician, Sheila E., what do you see yourself doing? I think, did I right?
You froze. Ask it again. Go ahead.
Okay. Alternate career. If you weren't a musician, what do you think you would be doing?
I was training to be in the Olympics when I was younger, and so I was a track and field superstar and broke all the records that hadn't been broken in 20 years as far as competition, and I also played on an undefeated women's soccer league for 5 years. So I would be winning a gold medal by now.
Yeah, yeah, you would. You would have won a few gold medals by
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
with your tenacity. Favorite city to perform in live and why? And don't forget, you're coming to Rochester soon.
Oh, Rochester's my favorite. Oh my gosh, the people, they're amazing. They're screaming crazy, wild. They're getting up, dancing, partying, and then they feed me. What else can I ask for?
Very true, very true. Tour essentials. One thing you can't live without while on tour.
Uh, oh man, uh, my percussion instruments.
Fair enough. Morning ritual, coffee or tea?
Depends on how I feel. Mostly water first.
Good advice too. And then the last one, Sheila E., what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
From my dad is to be on time, which means 15 minutes earlier than you're supposed to be there. Treat people kindly out of respect and make sure you know what you're supposed to perform and play and be well prepared because when you walk into a room, if you're prepared, you're going to walk in with confidence and a smile and have a great time.
Thank you so much for your time today. It has been an absolute pleasure. I'm sorry if I went over, but that's not even half of the questions that I had for you. But
All
I know
right.
I have to let you go. Thank you again. I really appreciate it. And
My
best of
pleasure.
luck. Can't wait to have you in Rochester.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.